All right, welcome to another Draft Tech. This week I'm gonna be focusing on my Selesnya deck, and it has just a splash of red. What put me into Selesnya was I really wanted to try it, but I opened up this card to start with, the Citywide Bust, which is a clear all, destroy all creatures with toughness 4 or greater. Now that's toughness, not power. That is actually good against most decks in the format. It hits yours as well, but there are some cards that kind of get around it, like the Wild Ceratok, which is a 4/3, so it has a 3 toughness, so it can survive. In fact, most of my 4-drops are all capable of surviving that spell. It's even my 5-drops can survive that spell. It's really just a few of the creatures that you have that are capable of dying to that spell. So that's a great way to clear board, and it was very, very good in this draft. Now this was a very awkward draft because of just what happened on the table. There was another Selesnya player, but that's pretty normal. What wasn't normal was the fact that a lot of players were taking Selesnya cards randomly. And that actually goes into something that I want to talk about with it, which is sending signals and how to deal with or prioritizing your own picks. It might seem like it's a good idea to take just some random rare that's, you go, oh, well, I don't want this played against me. But, I mean, in our 6-man draft, and especially in 8-man drafts, it's very important not to do that type of thing. If you start taking rares, then that takes away from your picks, especially in the first few packs. And that's kind of what happened in this draft. People were just taking Selesnya cards, even not rares, just uncommons, and they were removing their own picks. So even though I was getting cut pretty heavy, I still ended up winning because the power level of everyone else's deck was just so low because everybody was doing it that it turned out that if you take a bunch of Selesnya cards, then you end up with the Selesnya players just taking all of your awesome gas that you would really, really, really want in your deck that just disappears because you ended up trying to steal their stuff. So it never really works out. I had just enough playables. I had to play red because I was so low on playables. I would suggest that you don't do that. If you see like an awesome card that you really want to put in a deck, like I ended up grabbing Niv Mizzet because I do want to make a deck with this card. But for the most part, it's just never worth taking those cards, and especially trying to play them. I mean, one of the players decided to play an angel that only affected white creatures when they were playing green-black, which is just not a good idea. All right, so this is how I structured the deck, and you'll notice that it's mostly 3-drops. The Selesnya deck is supposed to be 3s and 4s mostly, but it does want some 2s. Like I said, I was getting cut pretty heavy, so I had to make do with what I had. But I feel like this deck was still very good, very controlling. So the controlling cards that I had in this were 2 of these Conclave Tribunals, which are basically just an O-ring that you can use Convoke for. Very powerful. This is a clear all. This ended up getting passed to me. This is also a clear all, but it has the ability to give your creatures lifelink, which is great in a race. If you have the little creatures and they have the little creatures, and you don't want to just clear the whole table, being able to just give lifelink is pretty sick. It puts you ahead really far. Just to lock it in my colors. This has it's all right. It's got Convoke and it can make a 2/2, but the fact that it can destroy an artifact or enchantment and being able to play that main board and being happy with that is pretty nice. I kind of like that. I don't think I used it for that. I almost did against a deck that had a pretty good enchantment, but I ended up just removing the creature that it was enchanting instead. These guys are very good. 3 threes. When they enter the battlefield, each player gains 4 life. Now that might not seem like the best thing ever, but in a Selesnya deck, there are some really quick decks. The Izzet deck and the Boros deck are very quick. So, and you don't care if they're gaining life. You really don't, because you're just going to start stomping them later on in the game. So being able to just save yourself and putting down a pretty decent blocker on turn 3 is really nice. This guy here, the District Guide, is just really good. He's basically just a ranger. He comes in and you get basically a basic land or a gate, and I play a bunch of gates, which I'll go over later. This is your color fixing right here. It allowed me to play red pretty easily. Even though I was cut a little bit on red, like I think I played too much red and not enough red sources, but he got me there most games. And more Sworn Companions. That card is key in the Selesnya deck. I wish I got more of those, but you know, like I said, I was getting cut pretty hard. This guy right here, the Harpooner, is one of the best green cards in the set. He comes in, he gets to fight a flyer, and he's a 3/2 reach for 2. I mean, just those numbers alone, 3/2 for 2, is very high, very powerful. And the fact that he can block flyers, and when he comes in, he can actually kill a flyer is pretty awesome. I ended up winning a game pretty much outright with that card, and I saved myself a few times. And just a 3/2 blocker for 3 is awesome. This card right here, the Glaive of the Guild Pack. I wish I picked up the second one of these things, because this thing ended up being so good in my deck. I mean, you need to focus on gates, but I definitely focused on gates. Once I had the double District Guide, I was pretty sold on playing 3 colors and playing gates. And this card is just nuts. I mean, it gives a menace and vigilance, and sometimes it would give them like +4 or +5, and that's not fair to your opponent. In terms of 4-drop creatures, Seratok was good, very, very good, but you know, he is what it is. This card was a second pick for me. This thing is probably better in Boros, but he was phenomenal in this deck, because he pumps himself up, so he becomes a 3/3 attacker for 4, which is fine. But pumping everyone else up, it really helps out. It punched in some really good attacks for me, especially when you have like a thing like double strike. You know, that's pretty sick. Yeah, this creature right here just is a 2-for-1, solid card, especially for 4 mana. You need to be able to hit, but I play enough creatures where it really wasn't an issue for me to hit every time I played it. I don't think I missed on it once. These Centaurs are great. 4/4 Vigilance with Convoke is very, very good, especially in this deck. I mean, I played him on... There was 2 games where I went Sworn Companions on turn 3 and Centaur on turn 4, even without having the 4th mana. I got a little mana screwed a lot on this deck. I just couldn't seem to draw any lands for some reason. I went over this guy last time. He just taps down your opponent's guys. Very good. This guy right here gets double strike when you control a gate. I play a ton of gates, so he always came in with double strike. It was kind of hard playing the red in this deck, but when I did play him, he was phenomenal. I did end up playing this guy this time because I didn't mind just waiting around, and it was very important for me to gain life in this, so that when people were just like smoking me like for the first 5-6 turns, once I gained control back, being at like 17 life was really nice. This guy here I did not need to play. He was just kind of fun, and I was kind of hurting on playables. It's just a big monster. I played him once, and it was kind of cool, but I wasn't going to really play black for him, but I did play 2 gates with black, along with the guys that let me get gates. So that wasn't like I never really. It was more of the 7 mana. You know, getting the 7 mana is pretty tough. But he's a 6/5, so there's nothing wrong with that. These cards, just another combat trick. That's always good. This is another combat trick that you can play for white if you're missing the red, and it's also a lightning helix if you're if you have the mana for it, which is pretty awesome. Again, you need to gain life, and being able to just snap kill one of their creatures is pretty good. But as far as gates go, I had 2 on-color gates, 2 of these off-color gates. I had 1 of the red gates, and I ended up with the Sacred Foundry, which isn't a gate, but I mean, it's good fixing, so I took it. My lands were pretty basic, 5, 5, and 1 with no black, because like I said, it was just a 1 card, and like trying to get to 7 mana is way harder than just trying to find your gate with the black in it. So he was mostly a dead card. I going back, I probably should have taken him out. I just wanted something just in case I needed to finish him off. But the removal in this deck was fantastic. Nobody really. It always came down to, they think they have the advantage. They think they have the advantage. They think they have the advantage. You're just kind of sneaking ahead with these, like, so that you don't die. But they think that they're ahead. They think they're ahead. You know, you play this guy so you don't die. They think they're ahead. And then you just, like, killed all their guys. You know, kill your guys, kill your guys, kill your guys, kill your guys. You know, kill your guys, kill your guys. So much, like, just, like, wipe the board. And people just couldn't deal with it. They'd be out of cards, and they're just running off the top of their deck, and meanwhile you have a huge army, and then you just stomp them with that army. I mean, the army got so big that most games I was swinging for well over 10 damage, sometimes 16. I think I swung for 19 one game. Like, so it doesn't matter that you're gaining them life, because you're just taking it back in like 1 turn. But this is kind of how you wanna play it. I would play more 2-drops going back, but the 3-drops is just fantastic. You just want to play as many of those as you possibly can. They're so good in the Selesnya deck, with powerful 4-drops and just a few finishers at the end. But I mean, it's mostly just good quality cards. It's all about quality in this deck, and just keeping your guys alive, making good trades, being patient. It's really not too difficult to play the Selesnya deck if you are patient, but if you're just going to try to attack, it's probably not going to work out for you. You know, you need to be able to get to turn 10 and be happy with the fact that you haven't attacked them once, as long as you're going to be able to attack them for a ton later. In terms of cards that I took out, there weren't too many. This card here, that might have been good. Instead of anything would have probably been good except for that giant. But it's just more removal. I thought I had enough. Prey Upon, not really the best removal in this deck. I was kind of hurting for playables. This is a great sideboard card. You know, destroying flying creatures is always good. This card right here, it's pretty good, I guess. I don't know. That seems a little underwhelming for a 2-drop. Most of the other stuff is just all off color. Lockets and like good blue cards, good black cards, love Demir. You know, some really good cards. This is why I was like, man, I can't believe everybody was taking these Selesnya cards. Like the cards in the other colors that I was taking out were just phenomenal. And it's because I didn't have any picks. You know, you think, oh, well, this player's not going to be able to play isn't going to have any picks out of this pack, whoopee. But it's like, guess what? Now I'm hating cards from you. I'm taking these awesome flyers from you. I'm taking, you know, this card right here, which is like just a card that just keeps coming back in the Golgari deck, or some like just really good cards in blue-red and or blue-black, or just black. That card is fantastic. Really good against this deck. Really good against the Boros deck. There was nothing else for me to take, so I took that. And that's kind of the double-edged sword when you start taking playables from people, is then they start taking playables from you. So your deck ends up getting nerfed just as bad as theirs. And that's why it's a double-edged sword to do that. All right, I hope this video was helpful, and I'll make another one next week.